Have you ever thought about reevaluating your life to the point where you could be in your 40s and decide that you're going to venture back into professional sports? A lot of guys fantasize about this.
Sure.
And I can tell you almost no one does it because the amount of work it takes to do what Kevin Porter is doing is almost unheard of. This courtesy of the Toronto Sun. Kevin Porter is going to tell us his story at the age of 42, venturing into professional hockey now.
I got unfinished business. I don't just come out here just to go play men's league, and that's no slight to anybody who plays men's league because we've all done it and we all will again. But my goal is I have an ultimate goal, and whether I end up somewhere in Ontario or back in Sweden or something, you have to shoot for the stars, right? It's that old cliche, because if you don't, what's driving you? Sometimes I got to just slow it down a little bit and focus more on the technique rather than the speed. And it's amazing just when you train when you're tired, how things kind of they come together. I've had mixed, right? Most people think it's cool. Other people say I'm nuts, I'm crazy, but I think it's life is short. I've seen that, I think, with my jobs, and I lost a lot of family members young. I had an accident at the fire department back in 2010 with my crew, and we went to a house fire and went through the floor in the basement, and I think right after that I said, man, you know what, your life can be over so quick, and something was missing. I didn't achieve this goal, so I just basically been on a mission for the last 7 years to try to make that come to fruition. I came up with a plan, and I said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take my time doing it. I'm going to do it right, and whatever steps in my way, I'm just going to go through it, and I'm going to find a way.
There is
based on work.
We're back on. There's Kevin Porter, who all of a sudden is a mic hog. So I just got to tell you,
come on, Porter, settle down.
That's the kind of thing we don't want to see in practice. Kevin Porter is joining us here.
This is an awesome story.
It is a fantastic story. And I'll tell you what, it's the kind of almost fantasy story that a lot of guys they dream about. And you know who you are, sitting there in your job, and all of a sudden, there's Maslow around the corner. He gets by Gardner. He shoots his course. Kevin, you're attempting this. Well, you're doing this.
Yeah, it kind of came about. So it started about 6 years ago. Well, I mean, it started when I was a young kid growing up in Kitchener. I grew up in Kitchener, and big hockey town.
So what level did you get to as a kid?
I got to AA.
So you got the AA.
Right, got to AA, and some family things happened when I was 16. My mom passed away. I got cut from the AA team. My Nana died, and this all happened within 3 months. So then I got injured going to try out for a AAA team that fed the OHL, the Kitchener Rangers, basically.
Which would have been a dream if you're playing in that area to play for the Rangers, because they're fantastic.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we trained, we played at the auditorium. You're in that scene all the time, kind of like London, Kitchener, big hockey.
Absolutely.
Cities. So when I had my hand slashed and broken, I couldn't play the overage year to qualify to get drafted. I decided to go back to school a few years later, and did the paramedic program, became a paramedic, went back to school to become a firefighter, and you guys have read my story, I'm sure, and things just happened, and then I got back into hockey about 6 years ago. I started training, and I went to some East Coast Hockey League camps, had a bit of success in my first one at Brampton. They were going to use me as a spare, as a call-up.
Yep.
That didn't
happen.
Yep. The Beast, yeah.
So these guys would be, what, 20 years younger than you? More?
Sure, whatever. 18, 25, 30.
Yeah.
I don't care, right? If you have the opposing jersey on.
But it did. But you go to the coaches and say, "Well, here I am. I'm gonna try out."
Yeah.
And they say, "How old are you?"
I guess. Well,
is that what?
You know what? They asked me how old I said my date of birth is on the registration form, so you know how old I am.
Sure.
So actually, I had a coach. I'm sorry. First time on radio. A little nervous.
No, you're doing well, man.
No cameras, at least, right?
Oh, yeah,
no,
the camera's right there. No, we're live.
Jeez, okay.
Just so you know, we're live. So if you want to say hi to your wife who you never see, you can do that now.
So I had an agent, and he would send him clips or whatever, videos, and he sees a 75, and they're like, "What do you mean, Donnie? He's a 75. Don't you mean 85?" He says, "No, he's a 75." So that's kind of hockey talk for years, right?
And back when guys, so in the day, people wouldn't say, "Oh, like for me, he's a 63." Nobody used that terminology. I don't know when it started, but I think it was post like 1980. So no one's saying. I've never heard someone say, "Oh, Kevin, yeah, he's a 75."
Well, I even get mixed up now because I'm around the hockey guys a lot, and they'll be like, "Yeah, he's a 2000 or he's a 2003 or he's
Yeah.
an 80." What? Like, what are you talking about? How old's a kid? Just tell me.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but you know what? You can't let it deter you, and I think the reason I've been able to kind of progress and get back into the groove is because I've been skating with so many young guys, right? So when you skate with the young guys, you are forced to learn what they've learned. Like when we were all growing up, hockey was so different. Now there's so much emphasis on edge work and edge control and skating, and if you can't skate, you can't play, right? So, and I've been very fortunate to work with some of the best coaches and skills coaches in the GTA, and I've learned so much.
But what's the moment? Was there a crystallized moment in your life where you're working as a first responder? I guess we would call
Yeah, I
it.
work for Brampton Fire.
Okay.
And I work as a paramedic for Peel Region EMS and York Region EMS.
So why all of a sudden the dream of professional hockey? Why does it get in your head?
You know, it was always something that I had, like I said, I felt like I had unfinished business due to, life circumstances. And we all have things in life that you want to do and they don't get accomplished. So it was definitely, I'd have to say, in 2010, I fell through the floor into a basement fire, which was a grow lab in Brampton, myself and my partner on the back of the truck. And that just shook my world. And it was a combination of a bunch of little things that add up that you just get to a point where you're like, I have to do this. Like, I have to do it. And I don't care what it takes. I'm going to find a way, and I'm going to come up with a master plan. I'm going to figure it out. And I just kind of gained momentum along the way, right? Like, every time somebody would say no, I would just say, okay, well, I'm enjoying this process. So you can tell me no a million times.
Keep it going.
Keep doing it. And then everything just started snowballing, just started progressing, and I started to feel better on my skates and get quicker again, and my speed was up, and I just kept at it. And I mean, I figured I had nothing to lose, right?
No, that's
the worst they're going to say is no, and I'm going to go back and work my dream jobs anyways. So, that's kind of my attitude. And
So Steel City, Sweden, Brampton, Toledo, San Francisco, Reading. I don't think it's called Reading. The Federal League. What's next? What's the next step here in 2017-18 hockey season? Can you bring us up to date here in late August?
Yeah, so I've had a few offers over in Sweden. One of the teams is in Malmo. Another team is just outside of Gothenburg in Sweden. And I have a PTO lined up in Port Huron, which is the Federal Hockey League. I had another call from Southern Professional Hockey League, and I'm working on a few more things at a few higher levels as well. So.
Now, when you say that in this day and age, and we talked about the differences of what we see in hockey. I mean, you had to send videotape, I guess, at some point. How are these teams seeing you? How are you getting this done? I assume you're doing it all yourself.
So a few years ago, I said, well, I had an agent at Uptown Sports Management in Burlington, and Donnie was sending out a lot of video and stuff to guys, and I just said, well, you know what? Like, I'd see them doing video and taking video. I've done some skating with Barb Underhill, Daryl Belfry, he came and helped me one day, Mike Ellis from the Leafs. So they always take video. So I always watch what other people do. I say, well, if they're taking video so they can show their players how to get better, why don't I do the same thing?
Sure.
And, if the stuff is good enough that I think I can put it out there on social media, people see it. And because I don't have an agent, agents make money off players. When you're a bit older, it's hard. They don't want to take you on because they're not going to make money. So I said, okay, I'm going to litter my social media with video, and hopefully someone will see me. Because, all it takes is one, right, to get a good shot. So that's the attitude I've kind of had to adopt. And, it's kind of what I'm doing. So.
When do you have to make this decision? Because we're almost knocking on September's door. There's people starting to get into camp soon. We just talked to a couple NHLers last week. It starts up in about 2 weeks. They've been skating for a while, too. So
yeah, in Sweden, they start a little bit later. Some of the leagues are already going, and some start, kind of middle September, late September, middle October even. So they play a bit of an abbreviated season over there, the league that I played in. So I've got a few weeks to decide, and it happened really last minute last year, so I kind of expect to see.
So hypothetically, the Swedish opportunity, possibly.
Yep.
Because we don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah,
I know exactly how the athletes think and talk. What happens to the job here in Brampton?
So I'm fortunate that way. I'm able to do shift changes, and the fire service, Fire Chief Mike Clark last year in Brampton, he afforded me a leave of absence, and I was able to capitalize on that. the scheduling guys in York Region they were wonderful helping me out. Same within Peel Region with my time off. It actually worked when I came home for my Christmas break. I did my shifts at work.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's just the way, I came home. They do like a 3-week break over there at Christmas. So I was able to come home. I worked, made everybody happy here, and then go back over there and make everybody happy. It's a juggling match.
Sure,
right?
it is, yeah.
It was great because I only had to focus on hockey. So, that's a big plus.
Well, it's just, again, we're in conversation with Kevin Porter here on rawmickrichards.com. You're hearing a very interesting, a very different story than generally anything we've covered. But I got to be honest, almost anything else I've ever seen, it just takes such big balls to do what you're going to do. And I'll be honest, for a lot of guys who would attempt this, not only would they get discouraged by the no's at the very beginning, but there'd be a lot of coaches who just wouldn't take the chance, or, quite honestly, just not good enough. Just really not good enough to share the ice with guys who are 20, 25 years younger than you. So that hasn't happened. So, I've only seen the piece that we just saw the video coming in there, and I'm looking at your skating, just sort of the hands and stuff like that, because it's all excellent. I mean, if you didn't tell me that player was in their 40s, and I only saw that tape, I don't think it's a guy in his 40s. Like, I don't. So you obviously must play at a level that is of interest to some of these teams. Like, how do you gauge that? How do you gauge where you are in comparison to those guys who are 20 years younger? Because I'm getting the understanding, at least from you anyway, and I've got this from a lot of athletes who've gone a long way, including the Doug Flutys of the world. You don't see it. You only see the competition.
Yeah, well, when I get out there, like in practice, like, on a lot of mornings I go skate after I get off work because ice time availability, and I like to skate where I like to skate for a number of reasons, and it just gives me great energy when I train at MasterCard. So I just look at it, and I don't really compare myself to other players. I look at things that I needed to work on, like what are my attributes, right? So I'm a quick skater. I'm 200 pounds. I like to hit. I don't mind getting hit. I like to play aggressive. I like to go to the net. So I try to focus on those traits, and hopefully I can bring something like that to a team. I also skate with a lot of D1 kids, Division 1, OHL kids. I skated with Fedor Gordiev, who's one of the Leafs draft picks. And so I'm able to skate with these kids, and I'm really lucky. I can kind of gauge my performance, how I'm doing,
sure,
what I need to work on, and kind of just – I analyze everything. I look at video and I analyze it. I break it down. I watch other players. I watch a lot of hockey clips online. Get a lot of ideas from my coaches that have helped me over the years. And if I go to practice and I mess something up, okay, you know what? Later in the day, maybe I'm going to go back and work on it if I have ice. Or tomorrow, I'm going to just do that for an hour.
Yeah,
I'm just going to solely do that for 1 hour until I get it. So,
how's the body reacting right now? I'm a couple of years older than you. I'm a former junior player myself, and when I go on the ice with the boys, obviously I'm not near the level I was before and so forth, but there's the aches and pains. My feet hurt, my back hurts, my knees hurt. Life is different in their 40s, you know what I mean? It is.
It can be, definitely, but I think, and my friend Matt Nichol has a really good saying, it says the best rehab is good prehab, right?
Yes.
So make sure you take care of your body first. And you kind of, I'm really diligent with that. I go to Myo Detox, which is...
Well, you look like dynamite, man. You look great.
Yeah.
I try, but, it's not only for hockey. I mean, my life depends on it, right?
Sure.
For my jobs.
Absolutely.
So, I take it very seriously. It's a lifestyle, and it just happens to be that I've kind of turned that and been able to focus it to hockey. So, massage, chiro, my chiropractor, Dr. Ken Kanakin's fantastic. I go to Myo Detox for, all my soft tissue work, you have to stay on top of it, right?
Sure.
Like in my mind, I'm a pro athlete, right? So if I'm going to progress to the next level, I have to treat my body and this like a pro athlete, and I also have to work unlike the guys that are playing full time. So I have to almost do more. You know what I mean? To stay.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, okay, we'll go to practice in the morning, they get the afternoon off. Maybe have a game that night, maybe don't. I might have to go to work. I might have to be up all night at a fire, or if I'm working ambulance, lifting people. So I have to almost do a little bit more, but I'm fine with it. I mean, it is what it is, right?
You'd mentioned Barb Underhill, who's worked with I don't know how many guys now. Like, I mean, it's the list is almost endless. It's
worked
huge.
for the Leafs too.
Yeah, huge. So, would a Gary Roberts then, is that someone you've talked to? Because when it comes to that kind of stuff, or is that
no? I've never spoken with Gary. I've seen Gary around. I know Gary's fantastic. He's got his NHL guys. So I trained off season this year with Jim Thompson. and Journey to Excel. Adrian Lamonaco. I skated with Adrian for 5 years, and I also did some work with Jim this summer and helped the kids out there a bit. So I've been very fortunate with these guys, and you learn something different off everybody, right? Like you learn. I would love to train with Gary at some point, but you learn something different from everybody. So.
Now, when I heard your story, and because of what has happened with the NHL with respect to the Olympics, so I'm looking at the story, I'm thinking, does that mean that you're going to get a shot at this? Would you get a shot at wearing an Olympic jersey because of the absence of the NHL hockey players? Have you been invited? Is this something you're working on? Is this something you even think of?
There's a lot of really great Canadian hockey players out there, and I'll use Sweden for an example. There's the SHL in Sweden, which they consider the second best league, or the third best. I would consider it the second best league in the world, but a lot of people say that the third after the K. There's so many good Canadian hockey players. I don't think that's in the cards for me. I would never, I'd never sell myself out.
Hey, we'll phone Sean Burke for you if you want.
Yeah.
So, I would never say never to anything, because I believe in, and part of my journey, and it's kind of, Conor McGregor goes by it, the law of attraction, right? You have to be absolutely 1,000,000% confident you're going to be able to do something in some capacity in order to attain your goal. But there's a lot of competition out there for those positions. I mean, guys are going to be seething,
Sure.
just seething to get there. So
Opportunity
I don't know if that's
lifetime,
realistic for me.
You know what? Well, what if you go to the tryouts like Conor McGregor, and you're wearing the fur coat like that and the glasses and come meet a real fucking God. Come and see what it's like. Maybe do one of them. Are you Irish yourself?
My mom was from England, and my dad's from Canada. So, yeah, that's close enough to Ireland, isn't it?
No, actually, it's bad.
They might
but
not like that. Yeah. They're good people. So,
well, so let's talk about the family life then, and start with your parents.
Right.
So I assume, just because of probably the personality that you have, that maybe they weren't surprised by this, or were they like, "Are you okay? Did you fall down too hard, or what happened?"
Well,
there?
It's funny. I mean, another big reason why I undertook this was, I lost my mom when I was 16, right? So it was always just my father and my two sisters. So I'd mentioned it to my dad. I think my dad was and he's a huge hockey guy. I don't think he understood the seriousness I had with it, and I would tell him about free agent camps, and I would tell him about this, and then when I mentioned Sweden, he was kind of like blindsided him.
Sure.
And then when the thing happened with the paper the other week, which I'm very grateful for, and to to John and Matisse and those guys, I wasn't expecting that at all. I just wanted to tell my story and to help motivate, and that was a big surprise. So he's been really supportive, but I think kind of taken by what are you, crazy? You're 42, you're a firefighter, you're a paramedic. What are you trying to do? But why not?
What about the wife conversation? Because look, my wife thinks it's weird when I come up with ideas like, what we should do? We should buy this new booze that has chocolate in it. That's about as far as I go. She's like, what, are you crazy? Different story.
Yeah, so when this all kind of materialized last year, I mean, she was very supportive. She had a lot of questions because she was in a new role. She works for Trillium Health Partners. She's an RN. She's a nurse. So she was in a new role doing quality control and some management things at the hospitals. So she's getting into a new career. And I'm like, oh, hey, my buddy Randy Edmonds, he used to coach in the Allsvenskan in the SHL, hooked me up, got me a tryout, a contract with a team in Sweden. And I want to go. And it was... Her family it was challenging. It was, you're trying to explain it to people, but I mean, you live once, right? Yeah. And the thing is with work and in my lifestyle and things I see, at work, it can be over tomorrow, right? So you might as well go for it.
Yeah.
So there'd be a lot of resentment, I think, if you've ever not done something in life and then you look back at it and you're like, geez, I should have done it.
Take us into how you score the free agent camp status. Do you scan the web? I've been to a couple in the 90s. I know it's a little bit different today and how it works. Do you have to kind of pitch yourself to go to the camp, or I know this is all you kind of take care of the travel and all that kind of business, no matter where it is and what happens. But give us the ABCs of how this actually works for you and attaining, an opportunity for coaches to look at you?
Yeah, so a lot of the teams, they advertise. I haven't been to a free agent camp in over 2 years because I started to realize, I mean, they were picking very small numbers of guys to go through the camp. So I started to focus more on, okay, if I can go overseas and play and actually play again,
Sure.
there's no need to go to the camps. Because, I mean, I went to a number of camps, and I would find them out on the internet.
Mhm.
They'd advertise, or you go on the East Coast Hockey League website, you can scroll through all the teams and find out the teams that are having the camps, and then it's a matter of, oh, I got to work that weekend.
Yeah.
You're kind of trying to figure out, do I want to go to this one or that one? The good thing with the camps is I made friends, because a lot of guys go to the same camps, so you see guys at different camps. Hockey's not only do I love playing, but I love meeting the people, and sometimes I even like training more than playing, because you're on the ice for 10-15 minutes versus training hard for an hour. Sorry, I got a little off track there. So with the camps, I would find them online. I would decide which ones I wanted to go to. Sometimes I go to a smaller showing, so you'd have a better shot because there's less guys. Other times I'd show up, there'd be 60, 80 guys, but you could really gauge yourself against the other competitors.
Yeah.
So, and that was good for me to take home too. And I could say, be really honest with yourself. Okay, what did you do well? What do you need to work on? Again, I'd have video. I had a guy come to Toledo with me one year and video all my games, and I could watch it and say, you know what, you're horrible at that. You need to work on that better and work on that better, and just be real with yourself, right? Because it's the only way you're going to achieve.
It's almost like Vince Papali, the Invincible story that Mark Wahlberg did of the guy who was a bartender, and at some point he thought, when they had Dick Vermeil was coaching the Philadelphia Eagles, they had an open tryout. And everyone's like, okay, well, they had to do something because they were so bad, and this was a good PR stunt, and everyone thought it was a stunt, except Vince Papali worked his guts out and actually made the team.
Right.
I watched that. It was a very inspirational movie. To a degree, and this is in Hollywood, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're kind of taking your chance to be a guy who makes an ordinary wage, like some people do, doing what you do for a living. You got a family, you've got kids, and yet you're still taking this chance. To me, it's kind of like a real life. That was real life, but this is not Hollywood for you.
No, it's certainly not. And I really have to. Like my schedule, it's really full. My wife, she pencils things in for me too, right? And it's pretty challenging right now. It's just the two of us, right? We don't have kids yet, but we're busy. We have nephews and nieces and all kinds of family obligations. And
has anyone reached out to you, by the way, since that article? Has anyone, any pro or anyone of that people would know that had contacted you, either tweeted you or text or?
Yeah, I had a really nice tweet from Mr. Rich Clune, so that was pretty cool. He's a guy I really look up to. Rich works very hard, and we'll maybe try to get in a workout with Rich at some point.
There you go. Good idea.
And, there's a, I've had some really nice compliments and messages and things. So my goal is I just keep working hard. I got a few days off now. I have to work, so it pains me to drive past the rink because I hate when work gets in the way of hockey, but. The goal is to kind of flip it around and eventually be doing that full time. So
that's awesome.
And if not, let's be realistic. I'm 42, right? So I honestly think I can contribute to a team for another 2 to 3 years, and then we'll see what happens. Coaching, training, skills development.
What do the guys in the hall say? Do you now does that mean you don't have to cook anymore? Like, are you off that shift? You don't have to make chili for the fellas, or what happens?
No, we all share.
Yeah,
we all share.
Still.
One of my buddies on the crew, he's a great cook, so he likes to cook.
So then say like, "Hey Gretzky, it's your time to clean the dishes."
Yeah, well, they joke, right? Yeah. But no. You know what? Like I said, Mike, it's just a story. I try to work hard, and I'm a pretty basic north-south guy. Work hard, 30, 40 seconds, and I'm off, right? So, get out there, work hard, do the job, keep it real simple. And I think just, outwork. If you can outwork the other players, that's what it is, right? I play wing primarily. I can play center as well, but, anything on the left wall, that's mine. It's my territory. So,
well, I would say this, Kevin, whether you realize it or not, but I think that this is a story that has reached a lot of people on different levels. So maybe you're not aware of it at this moment about what your story means to others. But I can tell you, I know it has. It has reached people. It has made people. Maybe it's not about becoming a professional athlete, but it's about not giving up on dreams. It's about not giving up, period. And when you talk about unfinished business, that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So when they see a story like yours, it is very inspirational. It is a great message. And it just means that people, whether they're told no 1,000 times, maybe 1,001, they don't. And that's all you're looking for. You know what? Theo Fleury, who I've known for a long time, he used to say, and of course this is before all the rule changes, and this has nothing to do with off ice and all the turmoil. This is purely a hockey story. I used to say, you'd go into the crease, not be the biggest guy, and they would beat the shit out of him. That's back in the day. You got cross checks coming at you. You got the goalies hacking on you. He said, "Yep," because the moment you didn't do that, for the one time you don't do it, I score a goal. And that's when you turn around and, that's why he drove players nuts. You literally were hacking him down like a lumberjack to a tree. Yeah. But the moment that you stopped hacking away, it went in the net. And that's what he's willing to do. Yeah. And I think you're cut from that cloth, which is, then say no 1,000 times. Because 1,001 when you say yes, I'm going to prove everybody wrong.
Well, that's exactly it, right? So, you can find motivation in all kinds of different, formats. Like for myself, I can look back on my life and I say, Jesus, if I don't do this, how am I going to feel in 10 years? The other thing too is when I do skate at the MasterCard, there's a lot of people in the building. So if that doesn't motivate you, and I'm not going to say who those people are, you guys might well know who they are. If that doesn't motivate you, just knowing that someone's around there, like, what will motivate you? Mm-hmm. As a hockey player, you're trying to make it, right? So I try to, use those little things to keep me going and just chip away, right? Just chip away.
Kevin, thanks so much for joining us here today on rawmicrichards.com. Once again, you're watching on the rawmicrichards.com, the channel itself, or, of course, as always, on the dedicated YouTube channel as we go live here from 234 King Street East in downtown Toronto, the Pacific Junction Hotel. It's just been great having you today. I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you very much. I'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah, please stay in touch, and as I think many people will. So it was fantastic.
Please drink your $15 coffee.
Yeah, I was going to say. Maybe he should have brought in beer because they said, look, this is the best guy in the world. He brought in a 6-pack. So what is it? Coffees cost more than beer, probably.
Yeah, especially from this place.
That is
we're familiar with it.
Kevin Porter.
What? We just become best friends? Yep.